Hello and welcome to Election Brief. My name is Arbor Kumson, and coming up, voter ID card of NDC's parliamentary candidate for Cape Coast North withdrawn. We'll tell you how it happened and the possible implication for his candidature. Also, opposition NDC impresses on parents to withdraw their wards from school to save them for contracting COVID-19. And first edition of Joy Ballot Box ends in Ho'ohoi with a call on government to fix the Eastern Corridor Road or risk losing massive votes from constituencies dotted along the terrible stretch leading to northern Ghana. Thanks again for staying with us. Now, the voter's ID card of the NDC parliamentary candidate for Cape Coast North has been withdrawn by the Electoral Commission. Kwamina Minta is alleged to have provided false information when he applied for his card. He will thus not have a valid voter's card when the EC opens nominations. Per the country's electoral laws, he cannot contest this year's elections because he will not be a registered voter. Let's go on the line. Central Regional Correspondent Richard Kojonyako. He's been following this. Richard, tell us, what information did Mr. Minta present to the commission, which was later found to be false?
Well, so he provided the information of his address system. He pointed to a building where he stays. But when he was challenged and he came before the committee, he could not substantiate that. And so it was deemed to be a false information. In fact, after his registration, his card was given him. And then he was recalled that someone had challenged him. And so he should submit his card. So he duly submitted the card. And then the committee sat on it. The committee went to the residential address where the infraction allegedly took place. And then after the sitting on the committee, they found him guilty. And so this means that his card has been withdrawn. He will be without a card. And when I spoke with some officials of the EC today, they said that after the withdrawal of the card, he's supposed to, by law, he's supposed to pay 500 penalty units, or in default, go in for 2 years.
I'm interested in how Mr. Kwamina Minta himself has been reacting to his predicament. What has he been saying, if anything at all?
Well, a short while ago, I saw his conversation on a WhatsApp group. He's not spoken publicly to this, but the communication on his WhatsApp group indicates that he's going for an appeal, and so people should relax their nerves. People shouldn't panic. He was addressing his supporters in a party WhatsApp group, and so he's going for an appeal, and he feels that he has he says he has two residential facilities in that particular constituency, and so he cannot be disqualified like that, and so he will appeal. So that is his reaction, actually. But the NDC has become very apprehensive in the constituency because it's getting to about a year since the primaries were conducted, and so if he is disqualified, then it means that they would have to field a new candidate that will contest this year's election.
All right, many thanks, Richard Kojonyako, our Central Regional Correspondent, with those details on that NDC parliamentary candidate, Kwamina Minta, who has essentially been kicked out of the race because he presented some false information to the EC, and as such, his ID card has been withdrawn. Now, some NDC party agents in the Ablekuma West constituency are demanding the withdrawal of a registration officer as they accuse him of giving out cards to persons whose eligibility they challenged. They say the applicants are not residents of the constituency, hence they follow the process to get the registration officer not to give them their cards. But he gave it out on their blind side.
At the All Souls Anglican Church Registration Center, very close to the Riches of Glory Academy, still in the Ablekuma West constituency. What we've seen right now, there's a long queue here at this particular registration center, quite different from what we saw at the Star of the Sea Roman Catholic Basic School. It's a very long queue, and this is just the outside. There are quite a number of people also sitting inside waiting to be registered. I have a woman here who says she's been waiting here she's been here since 1 a.m. So,
don't let me get angry.
Okay, it looks like some disagreements happening here.
Let me give you an interview.
Okay, well, what's
let me give you an interview.
What's your name?
I'm Nino Tenoti.
And you are?
I'm the NDC Constituency Secretary for Ablekuma West.
Okay, what's the problem?
The issue that transpired right now
What issue
is that the arrow for this center, you know, per the protocols of this process, when a challenge form is filled against anybody, the person is allowed to go through the process, but their voter's ID card is retained. It's not given to them. You understand? My agents, the NDC agents, filled a challenge form against some people who have been buzzed in.
Okay.
They have been buzzed in. And there was clear proof the people admitted they are not coming from the constituency, they were buzzed in. You understand? So they filled a form against the people. The RO gave them their voters' ID cards. The people on the ground seized the cards from the people because challenge forms have been filled. They later gave the cards to the RO because he knows he must do what? Keep the cards. Yeah. You understand? He, the RO, gave the cards secretly to some people to give to the people, and they left with the cards. We have people who have been buzzed in from various places, from the eastern region, from Tema Station, from Agbogboloshi, from wherever.
This is an illegality of the UCs. This is an irresponsible thing he have done, which we demand an immediate response that the UC should withdraw this guy. We cannot go on to work with this guy here. Because going on to work with this guy here is going to create the same problem for us.
Closer. Let's get closer to the registration officer you're talking about. You're accusing of helping persons who are not residents here to register. Let's find out from him what he makes of these allegations. Sir, you're welcome to join us.
I can't make any comment until I get information from my boss.
Come again,
until I get information from my boss.
So you don't want to respond to it? No. You don't want to respond to it? But they've made a lot of allegations against you.
The card has been given free. These are the form. We have challenged the form. These are the form.
Hello, sir.
Look,
they've made specific allegations that you brought in some people from Ofanko.
Please, I'm not granting any interview.
These are Brooklyn West. It's a
not granting any interview.
Look, it's a Brooklyn West. Look,
we're trying to get some. We're trying to get some. We're trying to get some response from the registration. We're trying to get some response from the registration officer, but he says that unfortunately he cannot respond to this allegations. So let's get closer and speak to the assistant director. Let him respond to some of these allegations that have been made against him. So you're welcome to JoyNews.
An allegation has been made against me?
Yeah, he's alleging that.
I've not heard anything.
He's alleging that some persons were challenged. They came to register. He's alleging that they were bussed in here to come and register, and their eligibility was challenged by the party agent here. But contrary to what's supposed to be the norm, their cards were given to them, although their registration, their eligibility as residents here have been challenged.
Well said. I was invited here, I was called. I came in to investigate, to know the truth of it. I have not finished the investigation, so I cannot really respond to it. I have to really look at what has happened, because I wasn't here. As a supervisor, I'm supposed to be at other places. So we would investigate and then we get back to you.
But we understand that you're in the know, you're aware that the cards have been given to these persons whose eligibility has been challenged.
I am investigating. I just came here in the middle of the discussion, then he went and granted interview. So I'm investigating.
Okay, so aside from investigations, have you also heard or have you seen some persons being bussed to this constituency to register?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen that.
You've not seen anything like that?
Interview my agents as well.
Okay.
Because I already know the time that was done. He can tell you the time that was done. Probably I wasn't here. I just arrived here because of this complaint.
Okay.
The officers called me, so I'm here purposely for this complaint. Okay. And I have just started, so that's why I can't really answer to it.
All right, let's head to the northern regional capital, Tamale now, where some people in the region continue to flout the safety protocols set for applicants at registration centers. At the Adabi Islamic Primary School this morning, there was no social distancing and most of them were not wearing masks. Martina Bugri is our reporter on the ground. She joins us on the line. Martina, you've been speaking to a registration officer on this troubling situation. What has he been telling you?
What he said was that they had told the community elders and then the assemblyman that they should educate the people that before you come to the polling center, the registration center, you should come with a mask and observe the protocols. But the people came and totally disregarded the protocols. And they masked up together and they were just not worried about what was happening. They were hugging each other, touching each other, and just talking aloud. And so I asked him, why would they not space? He said it's been difficult to do that because there's no security presence at the center. So the people just disregarded what was happening. But it's different in areas perceived to be for the elites. So we go to these areas, they have a structured system where they put down people, and when they follow the protocols without a mask, not even allowed to join the queue. Areas densely populated, they have thrown caution to the wind.
All right, many thanks for that update, Martina Bugud, reporting there from the Northern Regional Capital, Tamale. Now, you're still on Election Brief, and President Akufo-Addo has criticized the opposition NDC for whipping up tribal sentiments in the ongoing voter registration exercise. The NDC has accused the government of leading an agenda to disenfranchise some indigents of the Volta region after soldiers were deployed to the region. They allege the soldiers have been sent to intimidate the residents, and they also claim some of their members who were deemed to be Togolese have been arrested for attempting to register. But at a Zoom meeting with the MPP Communication Advisory Team yesterday, President Akufo-Addo denied government had a tribal agenda.
All the stuff about, we have some tribal agenda, want to disenfranchise people in the foreign in the voting. I don't understand where that is coming from. And it's deliberate, it's artificial. Anybody who knows the mechanics of Ghana knows that that is artificial and it's being done for very short-term political gains. I'm not sure that it's a legitimate way of advancing a political agenda. Certainly, it's not one that I would want to promote.
Now, he's also instructed members of the governing party to desist from campaigning along tribal and gender lines.
We have to do a campaign in Ghana which is not about where you come from, whipping up ethnic sentiments. It has never helped this country, and it will not help us. We should be the very first to recognize this diversity, this mosaic, this Ghanaian tapestry, which is full of so many different elements, but comes together in the Ghanaian statement. And we should be stressing that. The Ghana Project is what I call it. Secondly, in making the Ghana Project to the other issues, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, I'm very strongly a Christian. I'm part of the big Christian majority in Ghana. But it shouldn't be part of our discourse. And clearly, gender should not be also part of our discourse. We are looking at all times at records, at competencies. So it should be possible for the discussion amongst these people and before the Ghanaian people to be a discussion about competencies, abilities, records, achievements, output. So I think that is something that I would like us to stress very much.
Let's stay on NPP and campaigning, because the deputy campaign manager for the 2020 elections for the party, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, also fears such comments could hurt the party's chances during the polls. He spoke to JoyNews' Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
To make it very clear, quite frankly, the purpose of the statement is to make it very clear that it is not the philosophy of the campaign team and the president, to engage in individual or personality attacks. That's all. So
the way it says that this statement was issued basically because of the comment by the Ashanti Regional Chairman for the party, that is one to me, and also the Director of Communication for the party, Yabobina Samoa, because these are individuals that many have tongue-lashed for perhaps, attacking the personality of the running mate of the NDC, Professor Jinano Popoji?
That's the point I'm making to you, that it is not specifically in lieu or for reason that one person or the other has spoken. Yabwabia Samoa is the director of communications of the party. I didn't hear him, and I have read the whole script, and I was privy to the press conference. That press conference was a properly sanctioned press conference. So make no mistake about that. And nowhere in that statement did he attack anybody.
It says that the former president choosing Professor Jinano Pokojiman means that he doesn't take anything seriously. And many have said that that's an attack on the woman, and of course, Ghanaians as well.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. So that's the point I'm making to you, right, that people are twisting the statement to imply that he's talking about the woman's personality, but he did it. A statement that I would make at all. We would prefer that we question President Mahamad's record in office, and we believe that his record in office was up.
This is your election brief. Now, the opposition NDC has called on parents to take their wards out of the various secondary schools to avoid contracting the COVID-19. According to the party, President Akufo-Addo's decision to reopen schools despite the increase in COVID-19 cases is a clear indication of where his interest lies, which is political. At a news conference in Accra today, the party outlined 10 reasons they believe are key indicators the Akufo-Addo administration has lost the fight against COVID-19. According to the party, closure of some state institutions, the suspension of emergency services at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the lack of isolation facilities, among others, shows that government has no clue on how to contain the spread of the virus. The NDC is insisting government has been overwhelmed by the virus, and at its 7th weekly press engagement, National Communication Officer Sami Jaimfi asked Ghanaians to hold government liable for the spike in the COVID-19 cases.
More importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the premature reopening of senior high schools by President Akufo-Addo without mass testing of students, teachers, and workers, as well as the failure to put in place and enforce appropriate safety measures in the reopening schools, which is leading to the spread of the virus among SHS students, is yet another major setback for our COVID-19 fight. Today, it is sad and annoying to note that apart from the disregard for COVID-19 safety protocols in our schools, reopening schools have become centers, in fact, hotbeds for political campaigns by the ruling New Patriotic Party, as was seen over the weekend when their national youth organizer, Henry Nana Boakye, led a team to campaign in some senior high schools in the Ashanti region. Ladies and gentlemen, is it not cruel that at a time over 10 of the reopened senior high schools have recorded infections on their campuses, and parents have been prevented from visiting their wards as a so-called COVID-19 precautionary measure? President Akufo-Addo has opened the same schools for his party MPP and the Electoral Commission, who prioritizes political power than human lives, to go in there and engage in shameful political activities which have the tendency to endanger the lives of our innocent SHS students. This show of total disregard for the lives of our innocent SHS children by President Akufo-Addo is unconscionable and reprehensible, to say the least.
Well, government has been responding to that. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has described the NDC's allegation as untenable. He spoke on the Beyond the Lockdown show with MFA Apau.
I'm going to use a word. That word is not directed at you. I use it with the greatest of respect. And I use it for the meaning of that word. What makes nonsense out of that argument is that the people who are going to, for example, basic school, are about 750,000. Are they going to vote? The basic school students, are they going to vote?
We are on senior high school.
No, I'm saying.
We are the ones registering.
I'm saying.
So that's what we're talking about.
No, the argument that has been made is that schools are being reopened so that people can go and register.
We have not recorded cases in JHS yet, respectively.
I'm coming. I'm dealing with the argument. The argument, that's why I said give me some latitude. The argument being made is that schools are being reopened for people to go and register and vote. And I'm saying that those in basic school, the JSS students, are they going to register and vote?
But that's why I specifically asked about senior high school, Mr. Pongo, but let's respond to that and then we can move on.
I'm coming to that. And if I'm saying that what makes nonsense out of that argument is the fact that if you look at basic schools, they are not going to register to vote. The argument has been that you want these final year students to go and complete the examination and go out. Those at senior high school, again, complete and go out. Form 2, gold track who hadn't finished for them to complete. Tertiary. Those who are going are those who are going to complete their exams and go. Indeed, tertiary institutions that have completed their exams have said clearly that they will not even open up because they have completed their exams. If you put all of this together, that argument of reopening for registration and voting is thrown out of the window. In any case, what the Electoral Commission is doing, which we are all watching and have had opportunity even last week to speak about, is supposed to be done under an environment that doesn't put anybody at risk.
Now let's talk about the Joy ballot box. Concerns about the poor state of Eastern Corridor Road and youth unemployment top the list of issues the constituents indicated will influence their votes on December 7 at the maiden edition of the Joy ballot box program held at Hohoe last Friday. According to them, their thumbs will do the talking if government fails to fix the terrible road.
For a while, the electorate seated could no longer bear the exchanges among the panelists over unfulfilled promises. Irritated by responses which did not reflect the realities on the ground, a number of them quickly took to the microphone stand to correct impressions on the state of the Eastern Corridor Road.
These our politicians, they take us we Ghanaians granted. When they see when it is time for election, before we see them on the road with their machines, which is very bad. They think that without them, there's no anything. But I want to assure them that the moment you want to show yourself to us, we Ghanaians will show to you. Because I remember that the time our former president, he brought the machines on the road. The road was done continuously. The moment our former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, he came to power, when I used to do all the road in Ghana, he sacked all the people on the road. And I am a Ghanaian. I need to express myself to everybody in Ghana that you know, which is very bad. But I want to assure these politicians that we beg them. We Ghanaians, we beg them, we take in the name of God, we beg them that when they come to power, they should do the right thing at the right time, like our former president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, did.
I drove on this road yesterday at dawn and came back on this same road this afternoon. If he is sitting there and telling us that the road is done, I'm sorry.
He didn't say that. He says you can drive on it now. It's better than it was before.
Masa, I beg you, let's be truthful to ourselves. For once.
There were many others represented who felt they had been taken for granted for far too long and sought to demand what they believe were their rights.
After witness to 2008 electionary campaign, where President Mills promised fixing the Eastern Corridor Road, 2010, Togbe Apede was regional House of Chiefs, their chairperson. He called on the president that the road was not constructed with the chiefs in the region.
Speak into the microphone so we can hear.
2011, contractors were brought on road. We know construction started from Asikuma towards Have. By then, I was a student, so I was always using the road. After 2012 election, 2013, contractors were moved away from the road. So 2013, there was no construction ongoing on Eastern Corridor Road. 2014, there was no construction ongoing on Eastern Corridor Road. 2015, getting to the end of 2015, when election was approaching, and there was agitation from residents in the region, particularly traditional leaders and young youth groups like us.
Unfortunately, that's all time will allow us for today on Election Brief. Remember, you can catch us every day, weekday, at 1:30 on the Joy News channel. Also live on myjoyonline.com. I'm Arbor Kumsin.